Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. A lot going on around the world of the NBA that we're going to dive into. 5 games last night, plus some news. By the way, I'm Trevor Lane. You can follow me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. With me, as always, is Keith Smith. You can find him at Keith Smith NBA. Keith, I want to kick things off just by clearing everything up. There's been a lot of questions about this. I just kind of want to clear the air here. I am very excited for the Marvel movie that is coming out on Friday, but I know a lot of my teammates are not big fans of the Eternals. So I hope it's really clear where I stand on that.
Oh goodness. I mean, say what you want to say, right? With this, I'm going to keep it positive and upbeat with this. So your teammate on this show is very excited,
Yes,
for the Marvel movie, and I already have my tickets, so I'm going Friday morning. I can't wait. I am super excited. Anybody who knows me through Twitter or the show here knows I'm pretty much a Marvel stan. I'm gonna support just about anything that they put out, and I know the Eternals is not maybe getting the best buzz out there, but I'm still excited. And I feel like it might be one of those, when we look back on it, it will have advanced the story, in a way that was necessary.
yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely want to go and check that out and see it. I just think it's funny, everything that's going on this morning with all this Aaron Rodgers situation. My goodness.
Thankfully, in a sport we do not
Thankfully,
cover.
yes. This would be like, it feels like Aaron Rodgers is Kyrie in this situation. Like, I could see Kyrie doing something like that, right? Yeah, it just feels like a Kyrie type thing.
Be clear about what you want to say. It should not be up to people to have to interpret the things you're saying. Whatever. I said my piece on Twitter if anybody cares to see that.
Again, at Keith Smith, NBA. All right, let's get into some of the news. Right before we came on here today, Keith, you had a little bit of unfortunate COVID-related news that you picked up on.
So the Cleveland Cavaliers announced that Lauri Markkanen has entered the health and safety protocols. We don't know with Kevin Love in the protocols. Well, we covered this more extensively, Kevin Love, Tobias Harris, and Chris Middleton on our show last night. We taped late yesterday, so if you missed that show,
yes, please
go back and check that show out. It was all news. We did very little game wrap up on that show. It was all news related stuff, but we don't know if Markkanen was he a close contact with Kevin Love, and that can be a shorter stay in there, or is this going to result in the 10-day quarantine? If it does, that's unfortunate, because that's two key rotation players out for the Cavs, in both Love and Markkanen. And we've made all the jokes about how they play all these big guys and all this stuff, but that's also two big guys that are out of the rotation now. In the last game, when Love didn't play, they went to Dean Wade off the bench, who's I want to say third-year player, maybe second-year player, but he is lightly used big man, very deep depth guy. They went to him for minimal minutes because they got by with Mobley, Markkanen, and Allen up front. Now you're down to Allen, Mobley, and Wade for let's call it a week and a half. And I haven't looked at the Cavs schedule, but I'm guessing in there they probably play somewhere in the range of 5 or 6 games. And that's going to be tough for them to get.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to be easy, especially because it means a shift in play style, because they can't go as big as they have been. And that's been an advantage for them. I mean, that's part of how they beat the Charlotte Hornets the other night, who have a weak interior defense. They were able to just be bigger and more physical than the Hornets were. So we'll be.
And Isaac Okoro's out too, who's kind of their more traditional small forward wing player. He's also out, so I don't know exactly when he's going to be back. But yeah, this is not good news for a Cavs team that's gotten off to a really kind of fun and better than expected start, and coming off a 3-2 road trip, which is great for them. It's that's a road trip where they probably would have normally got maybe 1-4, or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been a pleasant surprise up to this point. Jumping into a game, I mean, do we really just say the Bucks are good and the Pistons are bad? Like 117 to 89 Bucks, still missing starters.
Bucks.
Yeah, I was going to say still missing starters, but the Pistons are really bad. I mean, Jeremy Grant kind of bounces back with 21 points, but Cade Cunningham, 2 for 14 from the field, including 0 for 9 from deep.
From 3.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's not great. Still very
Yeah.
early, and that's not reason to suddenly be
Only two guys in double figures
right.
for the Pistons in the game. The worst stat of all, 8 for 47 from three. If you take out Jeremy Grant and Killian Hayes, who combined to go 6 for 12, they were 2 for
That's
35 from
impressive. Like
three.
that's hard to do.
That's, yeah. Trey Lyles was 2 for 8. Frank Jackson was 0 for 5. Cunningham, we already said, 0 for 9. Sadiq Bey, 0 for 4. Only 2 for 13 from the field overall. Yeah, just about as bad a game as the Pistons could play, and the Bucks did enough to win behind Giannis and Giannis and kind of Munchkin type lineup. So yeah, his brother's not small because he's kind of bulky, but Thanasis is starting
Right.
at the 5 right now for Milwaukee. We'll see because there's no real clarity on Holiday or Lopez. We now know Chris Middleton's going to be
Yeah.
out for 10 days, so at least, and then we'll see from there. So yeah.
Let me ask you this. The Pistons minus Jeremy Grant or Killian Hayes shooting from 3 in a 3-point shooting competition against blindfolded Steph Curry. Who are you taking?
Oh, that's a good question. Like, I assume
He
Steph
gets lined up and it's just muscle
at least.
memory, or the Pistons, no blindfolds, just shooting.
So, like last night's Pistons numbers
Yes.
against Steph takes
Right.
35 3-pointers. Steph.
Isn't that
100%
crazy?
Steph.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, it probably. I'm caught on. That's a good question because now I'm wondering how he makes 10,
Probably, right?
12. Yeah, I mean, does he need to look at the hoop now? I don't know. Like, I don't know. That's a good question. Now I want to see like a blindfolded Steph like shooting
Now I want to do it.
contest.
Well, in the comments down below, let us know what you think. Blindfolded
Yeah.
Steph Curry or the Pistons shooting the way they shot last night, subtracting the two guys who actually
Okay.
made some threes, who made a few of them.
Steph Curry, if you're listening, that is a fun thing in the off season instead of the mini
Yes.
golf. Let's do Steph Curry blindfolded against regular
I
people.
agree.
Shooting.
Let's move on though. Next game, Miami Heat continue to be very impressive. This was a game where it was pretty close early on, and the Mavs actually looked not bad. Like they were hanging in there. They were up 30-24 after one, but still, even when the Mavs were on their run in the first quarter, it felt like the Heat were going to control the game. Like there was just something about Miami that just said they were going to win this thing, even though the Mavs were strong to start. And then the Heat bounced back 46-32 in the second quarter and then cruised from there. It's this Heat team, man, their defense is really, really good. And they just have that confidence about them where they feel like, okay, cool, we're going to flip the switch now and lock you down now that you've had a little bit of fun.
Yeah, Tyler Hero.
Is he the sixth man
record for
of the year?
Right now, yeah, not even close. I don't think. I mean, he's been great. I set a record for most points off the bench in this whatever amount of games they've played now. I want to say it's 7 maybe. Because he had 25 last night. Just kind of comes in firing and does his thing. Looks really good. I think the interesting thing with Kyle Lowry with this team is this was talked about the other day. Kyle Lowry himself does not fly up and down the court. He's not a prime Showtime Magic Johnson by any means. But what he does do is he'll take those outlet passes or those long rebounds, and he loves to hit that hit ahead pass. He that goes all the way back to his early days in Toronto, and that's allowing Miami, which can be a somewhat limited offensive group because Duncan Robinson's a great shooter, but
it's got to be created.
Nobody else a great shooter in that opening group. Yeah, it's you're stealing easy offense and getting early offense out of this. So I think that's really good. Bam really just kind of did his thing inside in this one. Jimmy Butler, nice all around game there, and Dwayne Dedmon has done well. So Miami's depth is limited. Well, let's just say that, but the guys who are playing for them are playing really, really well. The one thing I do worry about is this game's not a great example because there was a little bit of garbage time at the end, but the minutes loads are starting to get a little higher than I'd like to see this early in the season on some of their main guys. I know, guys go there, they get in that
Mhm.
tremendous shape in Miami and all those things, but it is a little something I'm just kind of watching. I don't want to see guys do that. On the Mavs side, this as so often happens in Mavs games, it's just Luka didn't have enough help. Jalen Brunson was pretty good. Hardaway still continuing to struggle, not really finding his 3-point range, and just not much else going for Dallas in this one. It was Luka and Brunson, and then everybody else kind of after a nice start disappeared and fell apart.
Porzingis questionable right now for tonight's game against the Spurs. We'll see if he
Yeah,
does come back. Been dealing with that lower back tightness. I mean, he helps at least somewhat for the Mavs, but
sure.
I mean, Jalen Brunson was great, but otherwise it's kind of still the Luka and then everybody else team with the Mavs. And that's the other thing. Like, how many times are you going to get 25 points out of Jalen Brunson and you still lost by 15? Like, there's a
Yeah.
gap here between the Mavs and some of the top teams in the
Yep.
NBA.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Speaking of top teams in the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
Utah continues just
Do their
to
thing.
cruise along. Kings challenged them, but the Jazz did what they do. 66 total points out of Conley and Mitchell in the backcourt. Just ridiculous night for them. Rudy Gobert, 12 points, 20 rebounds, 4 blocks, 19 defensive rebounds. Just basically saying, nope, you're getting no second chances here. Cleaning up everything, and then Hassan Whiteside. So this is kind of a thing now for the Jazz. They're getting 48 minutes of really good center
Yeah,
play. Whiteside in 15 minutes behind Gobert, 12 rebounds at
that's
9
solid.
points. They
On a
just
minimum.
12 points and 15 exactly minimum player. Bojan Bogdanovic starting to find his range again a little bit. He had 20 points in this one. The Jazz, Jordan Clarkson,
Yeah.
though, after he missed all his 3-pointers a couple days ago and said, got to start a new streak, 0 for 11
Oof.
from 3.
He is
So
starting a new streak.
he's,
I'm
yeah,
not making
yeah,
threes.
not a positive one, at least. On the Kings side, starting to get a little bit nervous about De'Aaron Fox.
4 for
Something
15.
seems off. He's really struggling offensively. Cannot find a shot. I don't know if it's just that there's so many guards and it's just weird lineup constructions or what it is for him, but he does not look that great. Devian Mitchell played well on both ends. Again, Donovan Mitchell had a big scoring night, but did not. He took a lot of shots, and Davian Mitchell was challenging him throughout the game. Buddy Hield did his thing off the bench. Harrison Barnes continues to be good, but this is one for the Kings where it's kind of as I was watching this. I watched this game this morning. It had the feel of they're close. They're just not
They're not
at
there.
that level. Like the Jazz are just that much
And
better.
Donovan Mitchell was 14 for 30. I mean, you'll take that percentage
Yeah.
wise.
Oh
That's
yeah.
fine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
But that's good for Davian Mitchell to, on a night where Donovan Mitchell took 30 shots, holding him under
mhm.
50%, you kind of live with that and say, all right, I kind of did my best there.
Here's maybe a little bit of a concern. The Kings 8-man rotation right now that they went with against the Jazz. Like
Yeah.
they went for it, right? They really went for it
Yep.
and still
Hmm.
could not get it done. And the Jazz are
Yep.
a good team, right? The Jazz are a good regular season team. We know. So it's not a huge knock against Sacramento, but just something to keep an eye on. How many minutes are their starters playing early? How short is that rotation? Because that could matter come February, March, that sort of thing.
I was going to wait until we finish the next 2 games because they involve 2 other
Uh-huh.
contenders. But I'll just ask you this question now. Who right now, today, is your favorite in the Western Conference?
Ooh, to come out of the West. Wait, to make it to the finals or to finish as the 1 seed?
To make it to the finals. Yeah, good clarification. On a day where we're learning, clarifications are apparently important.
Yeah, right.
Because the 1 seed, I mean, I said it before. Utah could win 70 games. I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Show me in the playoffs. So yeah, get to the NBA
I
Finals.
I still
Who
think the
feels like your
Lakers have
favorite?
the highest ceiling if they can get everything to click. If you can just get guys around their big three to play defense at a high level, and they're definitely not there yet. And we still haven't seen what they've got yet because so many guys are out. I think they've got the
Sure.
highest ceiling. But that being said, like Utah's playing the highest level of basketball right now. Phoenix has a lot of potential as well, even though they've had some tough losses. Like Utah's playing the best right now, but long term, I still think the Lakers have the highest ceiling out of anybody out there if they hit it. But
Okay.
it's more of a question mark in terms of will they hit that? Whereas the Jazz,
Yep.
we know they can certainly get there. The big question is, can they get there come playoff time? Can they be that in the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of funny. You kind of did the same thing we did this morning with a group of friends I was talking with. Is we're like, yeah, the Lakers, maybe the
Mhm.
Jazz. Let's not forget about the Suns. Somebody was like, if the Warriors get
Yep.
Clay and the
The
way they're
Warriors have to be in
playing,
the
and what
mix.
about the Warriors? And then somebody else said, what if Jamal Murray gets
Hmm.
back just in enough time? And it's kind of funny. So there we are. We know there was no consensus. Nobody was like, oh yeah, this team,
Hmm.
it was very, whole bunch of teams thrown around, which is awesome, right? That makes for a more fun season. Now, I know the Lakers portion of our fandom here probably does not appreciate that, but speaking of the Phoenix
Yes.
Suns, they took down the New Orleans Pelicans, 112-100. Suns, they did it by locking in
Hmm.
defensively, held the Pelicans under 40%, shooting overall 417 turnovers. Suns shot over 50% in the game. That was offset by 17 turnovers to some extent, and did not shoot it all that great from three, but really dominated the interior of the Pelicans defense.
Without
And they
Aiden.
did it without
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton.
JaVale
Yeah, he
McGee.
was out for this game. Yeah, JaVale McGee,
Hmm.
throwback game, 7 out of 10 from the floor for 18 points. One, two, three, four, five, six Suns in double figures, including Frank
Yeah. 30
Kaminsky.
minutes. Well, 29 minutes for him.
Checks in off the bench with 17. So, yeah, and Chris Paul, 18 assists, moved into third place all time on the NBA's career assist
Should
list.
note, no Brandon Ingram, no Zion Williamson for
Correct.
New Orleans.
Yep.
So I'm almost surprised it was as close as it was, even without Aiden,
Yeah.
with missing
Yep.
those two players in particular. That's rough for New Orleans. This game was also to me, and not to knock the Suns or knock the Pelicans or anything, but this is why I think the NBA needs to have a little bit more flexibility in terms of flexing games in and out of nationally televised
Yep.
slots. And I know there weren't
Agreed.
a lot of
Yeah.
alternative options in this case in terms
Yep.
of like star power games or whatever, but it's stuff like what's going on with Zion, stuff like what's going on like with Brandon Ingram being out and everything. The NBA really needs
Yep.
to be able to capitalize on that and say, okay, yeah, maybe we're not going to highlight this game of
Yeah, and they do it. It just tends to happen far
yes.
later in the year. But yeah, like Jazz Kings would have been a
Yeah.
better
Mhm.
fit there. Then the last game of the night, I mean, by the way it played out, pregame we would not have thought it would have been a very good fit, but the way it
Mhm.
played out would have been the Lakers beat the Rockets 119-117. I said pregame, my pregame
Yep.
prediction was that the Rockets would turn it over 22
At
times. I was so
24.
close, 24 with that. But yeah, it was Russ, LeBron, and
Mhm.
AD all kind of did their things, and Melo continues to be consistent scoring off the bench. He's had very few poor games.
Yeah.
It feels like you can kind of write him in the book now for 15 points a night off the bench and feel pretty good
If
about
Tyler
that.
Hero wasn't doing what he was doing, I think Carmelo Anthony's getting a little bit
Yeah,
of buzz among Lakers fans as being, maybe a
sure.
candidate for six man if he keeps this up all season.
Yeah,
I think it would take Tyler Hero dropping off and Carmelo continuing to do this, but he's been very good.
yeah.
He's been very good. 3 of 5 from deep, 6 of 9 from the field, which is nice. 15 points. You like that? The big three all go off: 27 for AD, 27 for Westbrook. Westbrook looks a lot more under control in recent games,
Yep.
keeping his turnovers down now. Was 0 for 4 from
I
three.
like Vogel continuing to use him as a
Yes.
screener, where he screens and then he rolls and then he's able to make the
Hmm.
pass off that. I think that's actually something that could be a he's with the Lakers for the next 3 years or
Hmm.
whatever, wherever he goes. I think if he continues to play, that should be a part of how a team uses him because he's such a good passer. You're getting him in different spots there. It's very similar to how the Nets used Bruce Brown, but Westbrook's clearly a better passer. He's better cut out for those things, and it allows him to use his
Yeah,
explosiveness a little bit
absolutely.
too, on that. So yeah, I like that, and it's still fun for me to see LeBron in
Do
year,
LeBron things.
what are we, 19, say, all right, I
Yep.
got it. Like it's that I can still do this. Now, I would you would hope he's not having to do it in early
Right.
November against the Rockets, but it's still cool that he still got that. And it was funny because you could almost see on the faces of some of the Rockets guys were a little like,
Yeah.
damn, like he's still doing this. So yeah, it's that
This
was
is one of
fun.
those games where the Lakers early were scoring with ease, and they just kind of went, oh, we don't really need to play defense because we're scoring every time down. And then the
Yeah.
Rockets started getting all this confidence, and they were hitting, admittedly, some tough shots. And you could
Yep.
see it. The Rockets were thinking, this could be it. This could be the game that we're going to win, right? I mean, they are 1-6 right now on this season. They only get a chance once or twice every 10 games or so to get a win. And you could see where they were going, let's give this everything we got. And then LeBron
Yeah.
went, nope. I'm gonna shut that down.
Yep.
I decided I'm gonna go do this tonight. Keith, did you see Free Throw Gate? Okay,
No.
so I got to tell you, I'm
No.
excited. I get to tell you about this then. Okay,
Okay.
so
I no, I don't know what you're
so here's
talking
what
about.
happened. So in the fourth quarter, you had Kent Bazemore. He gets a foul on the side, and it's the referees say, okay, they're in the bonus. Kent Bazemore goes, knocks down 2 free throws. A few minutes later, the referees come back during a timeout and they say, we've got an error that can be corrected. We messed up. The Rockets only had 4 fouls on them, not 5. The Lakers were not in the bonus at that point, and so we're going to take 2 points off of the Lakers score. And this turned it into a much closer game, like late
Sure.
in the fourth quarter. I think I made it a 3-point game. And so the Lakers went berserk. They were not happy. Frank Vogel already had one technical, and he's going crazy, and the refs are like settling him down and everything. And they ultimately took 2 points away from the Lakers, said it was an error that he got those free throws, but the Lakers lost possession of the ball on that as well. They didn't get a scoring error. They lost a possession in a very, very close game.
Because the game had
The
already
game had
moved
already
on.
moved on, so they didn't
Got it.
like go back
Okay.
to that point and restart. And so then the Lakers wind up winning by 2, but the Rockets, Kevin Porter Jr. had a shot at the buzzer to win it, and he missed it. Like, had that gone in, obviously it would have been even different, even a bigger deal. But Frank Vogel talked about it post game. LeBron and Anthony Davis talked about it post game. They all talked about how that has to get changed. You can't do that. You can't. It's fine if you want to correct an error, but you can't go back and then remove a possession because that robbed them of a scoring opportunity. If the referees had called it right, it would have been
That's
sideline
really
out of bounds. So it was interesting. It was the first time I had seen something like that happen where the refs retroactively went back and removed 2 free throws, but then they couldn't fix the possession situation.
Yeah, and I get it, right? Because you're not gonna be like, all right, let's pretend the next 2 minutes didn't
Right.
get played, and we'll go back and restart the game. Like that's not gonna happen. Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know if you saw. It was in the Celtics Wizards game, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. They played like 9 minutes of real time with the score wrong,
Oh,
and everybody was like calling it out all over the place. And it was Boston had got given 2 points that who knows where they came from. And it was just the whole time they had two points on the board that were not there. I guess it was this past weekend. It's all starting to run together
we're
already.
2 weeks in.
But which is not a
No.
great sign early in November. But yeah, it was they played like 9 minutes of like real time. I want to say it was like 5 minutes of game time before it finally got corrected. It was a basket. It wasn't like a basket that was waved off later because of the shot clock, which we've seen that a million times or anything. It was just somehow a basket got put in there. And before anybody says anything, the game was in Washington, so it wasn't a Celtics related thing. No home cooking there with that one. But yeah, that's interesting. On the Rockets side in this one, I've been saying I wanted to see more of Şengün and Wood started together. Thought it looked okay. I thought they did all right with that grouping. Let's keep let's stick with it. Let's see it a little bit more. Christian Wood, monster game for him. When the parts I was watching, that was where the Lakers going to the small lineup worked against them a little bit because they just didn't have a real good answer for Wood. With that one, I thought Jalen Green got back on track. Your guy there.
Yep.
Thought
he was
looked
hitting
better.
some shots, some tough
in
shots.
This one. Yeah. Yeah, and then Kevin Porter Jr. not a great shooting night, but again, kind of a solid all around game with 8 assists, 5 rebounds for him. And Jayshawn Tate, just hustle baskets. There's not a lot of way. He took advantage of. Sometimes I felt like AD was coming over to help on Wood because Wood was kind of doing his thing, and then that left the weak side open. That's probably the single biggest thing I worry about with the Lakers. I think they can defend point of attack fine in the small lineups. AD's good enough to protect the rim, but if he's out there going after a shot block, and I'm not saying he's chasing blocks, but he's going at like a legitimate play, they've got to have the guys got to drop in to take care of the rebounding. They're a little bit better because the Rockets did get 11 offensive rebounds in this game, and that's against a better team. That probably hurts you.
Frank Vogel talked about that a little bit post game too, saying that's part of the improvements that they need to make in terms of figuring it out all that kind of stuff.
And that's where Westbrook's not going to the glass the same way he has a lot in his career, and I don't know if that's. We've got Davis, we've got LeBron. I don't need to I don't know what the thought process is there behind that, but like Bradley and Bazemore, they're not good rebounding wings, never have been really. So you just, it's got to be, the other guy's got to help out a little bit more because LeBron only had 4 rebounds. I was going to say, I don't remember him grabbing very many. That's just something I think I'm not saying you change too much. Is just going to be a focal point going forward. You got.
Westbrook 9 boards, 5 offensive, so it wasn't. It wasn't terrible from Westbrook from a rebounding perspective, but in general, over the course of the season, he's not putting up the 13 rebound games like we had been seeing in the past. That being said, I guess we can wrap things up. I did see a question after our last show, which, by the way, again, we did that show late last night. So if you didn't get a chance to catch it, a lot of new stuff in there. Make sure you go check it out. But Keith, I had people asking because it was right before the game, right before the Lakers game. So I had on a Lakers shirt. I was using my Lakers background, all that kind of, because I didn't have time to switch everything out before the Lakers game started. But I had people asking, how are you and I friends when you're a Celtics fan and I'm a Lakers fan? They just assume that naturally we should want to kill each other all the time.
Yeah, we probably should. There's a reason we don't live together and record this show together. It's because we don't really like each other. We instantly shut this off and go. No, it goes back to, it was kind of I think the first we got linked up because we were both doing stuff through a third party that we were both working with, and if I remember correctly, it was the summer when the Lakers were going to be signing LeBron. I had made a handful of appearances at the end of the season and then in the summertime leading up to on the Lakers Nation show, kind of talking about this is what the salary cap, this is how it needs to work, this is what they would need to do, because it was one of the first times the Lakers had cap space in a very long time. It was LeBron. It was how do they clear the space, and that was I think that was like the first time you and I then started talking cap stuff. Then we hung out at Summer League a couple times, I want to say. And then from there, we came together to do the show. And it took a little while to find footing and get to where we wanted to be and in a regular place. It helps now that neither one of us is holding down a separate full-time job from this, because that was also hard. Also, when you were on West Coast and Pacific time, I was on East Coast time. It was like, hey, here's 20 seconds each day when we could possibly record something, because it just was so hard. But it's and it was funny. I appreciated somebody put it in the comments, and I actually got an email on it, and I'm assuming you didn't get my emails on my Twitter, which is how people find it, my basketball email. And they emailed and they said, what I appreciate most is your excitement and joy for the game that the two of you have, and that you're just very genuine. You seem to have fun with it. You don't seem to go even when you disagree. It doesn't have to be let me one up you with hot takes and that, and you're not going to get that. That's not
No.
us. I think we do have a lot of fun with this. So yeah, I appreciate that people are noticing.
Yeah,
That's nice.
absolutely. And I think that it's personality wise, we're both much more even keeled, and we're both not really fans of the hot take, screaming, whoever yells louder wins,
Yeah.
that type of thing. Because personally, I think that takes away from genuine analysis. I don't think you
Yeah.
need to go to that level. And so people are like surprised that we can do this show, even though we're fans of opposing teams or whatever. But we don't take that kind of stuff personally or anything. Like Keith is always gonna support the Celtics. I'm always going to support the Lakers. And I think it's okay to admit, like, hey, the Celtics have done some good things, right? And Keith can say that the Lakers have done some good things as well.
Yeah.
Like that's perfectly fine. But for whatever reason,
Celtics have not done good
okay,
things,
well,
but that's
recently,
okay.
right? Recently, but in general, right? So
Yeah.
it's the kind of thing where right now, even across society, we see people that are just pushed into extremes, and if you're not on this side, then I'm completely against you and you're my enemy and all this kind of stuff. Like everything is so polarizing on a number of ways. And we even see it with games. You know, if a team wins, they're the best ever, and if they lose, it's the worst thing ever. And that's just not how you and I think. And so that's what really people ask: how can you be a Lakers fan and a Celtics fan and do a show? It's because of that. Because we tend to look at things on a more even keel, and we're just able to coexist that way.
Yeah. No. To be fair, if it's the NBA
Uh-huh.
Finals and we get our dream and they play against each other, it's probably going to be an
Oh yeah,
all-out war.
yeah.
And I'd like to believe we could get through the two times they will play in the
Uh-huh.
regular season and keep it relatively civil. I am sure, but yeah, as long as Rondo isn't tossing in garbage game winners in Boston, then that was man. That one was it. It would have. It just wouldn't have hurt as much if it was
Right.
LeBron. But if it's Rondo or Avery Bradley throwing in a game winner like that, like that's just like why? Like you're not supposed to do that. Come on, guys. Like be our buddies
See,
here.
there's a
So because it never goes the other way. There's never I mean, I guess if Dennis Schroeder did it, but
there you
it's
go.
not. Lakers fans don't even like him,
No.
so it's like Celtics fans still like Rondo and AB. Those are still our guys. So like you don't need to stomp on our hearts
There's
that
a
way.
picture, and I've got it on my Instagram from that game where so Rondo hits that shot at the buzzer, and everybody is going crazy, right? Everybody in the stands is going crazy. Like there's a still image that I put up there, and everybody, you can see the Lakers team celebrating in the foreground. In the background, everybody in the stands has some just amazed reaction on their face. They can't believe it. Their hands are on their heads like this, like that type of thing. Sitting in the middle of them, emotionless, is Bill Belichick. He's
That's about
just sitting
right.
there with the same look on his
Yep.
on his face as you always see,
That
and I'm
about
like,
sums it up.
that just encapsulates it perfectly. Everybody going crazy around him, and he's just still sitting there,
I love it.
same expression.
Oh, it's so great.
All right,
All right. Well, I appreciate. Hey, I do appreciate too. Thank you, everybody.
Mhm.
But who did already watch last night's show? We went way off the rails at
Yep.
the end, talking about broadcast. I think I started it, but you were
Oh
happy.
yeah,
to
I
follow down
perpetuated
that
it.
trail. And then but we had a lot of fun with it. And I think people, I appreciated people chiming into the
Mhm.
comments already and sharing their own memories and thoughts. It's pretty cool. That's kind of the idea why I think we got so caught up in it is because we have very specific memories about those broadcasters. So it was a lot of fun. Oh, Twitter
Uh-oh.
just went off. Let's
Woj
see.
bomb?
Oh, New York Post story on New York City Mayor-elect Eric Adams planning to revisit the city's COVID-19 vaccine mandates upon taking office on January
Oh.
1st. Nets star Kyrie Irving remains unvaccinated and sidelined because of his decision to not fulfill the mandate.
Oh,
So
okay. All right.
maybe
Maybe
Kyrie
a
back in
Kyrie
play.
comeback. That'll be interesting. Interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. Going the opposite way, there is some news that Boston's new
Mhm.
mayor-elect would like to put in things like what New York and San Francisco have in place, which it's not entirely clear on a couple of Celtics players whether they're vaccinated or not. So yeah, but when we know, and we'll share when
Mm.
we can.
Well, I guess it'll be something to keep an eye on moving forward here. But
I can't wait till Woj bombs our trades again and not health and
Yes.
safety
Yeah. Wouldn't that be great?
nonsense. Please,
That,
for the love.
yes.
Soon.
Let's get back to that, Woj.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Make sure you do subscribe to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel right here. Don't forget to turn on those notifications if you're listening to the podcast version of this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. Make sure you do follow us there as well. Till next time, stay safe and see ya.